Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. Honesty, the new lube. One of the Anami cardinal rules is no lube for women, because all women at whatever stage of their lives are capable of producing their own natural lubrication. Yes, all women at every age and stage. Yes, that means menopause, perimenopause, pregnancy, postpartum, all of you. These are real words from real women who have taken our salons. An increase in wetness to tsunamic proportions. Tsunamic is one of my all-time favorite adjectives, and that's from Joanne. Now, all I have to do is talk to him on the phone, and I am dripping to my knees. This is 61-year-old Michelle. I am wet, 100% wetter. I had foolishly started to believe that with menopause at 51, there would come dryness. Emily has now known better. And from Tia, I am constantly aroused and wet. I love my juices and can have an orgasm without touching myself. How do you like them tsunamis? This is the normal state of vaginas for every woman. What's not normal is going through gallons of artificial lube and thinking it's normal to need it to have sex. It's become normalized, but it's not normal. So if all women are meant to be gushing geysers of lubrication raining down on all, what's happening? Why aren't women tapping into this internal and eternal reservoir? Despite the lies that you've been told that having a wet vagina has nothing to do with being aroused, this is indeed the truth. If you're wet, you're ready. If you're not wet, you're not ready. It's that simple. There are two components to being ready. The first is physical, meaning you need more touch or a different kind of touch. Instead of rushing to the act of penetration, how long can you prolong? If you waited until you were gushing wet, what would that look like? What would you need to get there? Do you feel comfortable asking for this and talking about it with your partner? Or do you feel guilty if too much time is spent on you and feel like you just need to get on with it? So you reach for the bottle of lube. The biggest problem with lube is that every time you use it, you are overriding the voice of your vagina, assuming that what I say is true, and of course it is, that if you aren't wet, you aren't ready, then every time you use lube, you are forcing your vagina to do something it doesn't want to and isn't ready for. What do you think happens to your vagina? It goes numb, you dissociate, you disconnect, it shuts down. This is partially what leads to degenerative conditions like incontinence and POP, pelvic organ prolapse, when you are so disconnected that things literally start falling out of you, or they get cut off because you are so cut off from them. The second component is emotional. How connected are you with yourself, your own emotional state, your body, and your vagina? And how connected are you to your partner? Do you feel open and close and like you want nothing more than to let him inside of you? Or are you going through the motions, not letting out what's inside, not speaking your truth and communicating what's really in your heart, mind, and vagina? In Anami land, open and clear communication is foundational practice in the work and play we do. Everything is written on the body. It does not lie. So if your vagina isn't wet, it's telling you something about the current state of affairs in you and in your relationship. Even having an argument at breakfast time that you haven't resolved yet can show up as a lack of lubrication later on in the day. I used this analogy in last week's podcast episode about libido. Now, multiply that by 50 unresolved arguments or 500. All of that shows up in your bed and in your vagina. It will feel numb, unresponsive, and this is actually trying to tell you something, which is we need to clear space before this door will open. So, what is the solution? Honesty. It's the new lube. Everyone is doing it, at least in Anami land, because it is the permanent solution to your arid woes. Built from the inside out. You will never need another bottle of lube again, except for anal play. Then you can use all the lube you want. There's an amazing quote I love. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. The source might seem paradoxical in this instant, but it works. It's from verse 70 in the Gospel of Thomas. I'm telling you that the lack of your liquid flow isn't because of your hormones or the stage of your life or anything physical other than having a weak vagina. That is the only physical cause of lack of lubrication, which is a lack of circulation, and that can be easily remedied by using a jade yoni egg. The main reason you aren't flowing is because you aren't flowing. We have countless stories of couples who have been estranged, and they sit down for these clearing conversations and really hash it out, and they can't even finish the conversation because their hands are all over each other, their clothes are off, and the conversation has been taken over by their bodies. This happens all the time. Unlock your inner flow and you will see geysers. The reality is you cannot fuck when you are stuck. So unfuck your stuck and you will again fuck. These are wise words by Anami. And more wise words by today's well-fucked all-star, Rachel. She is a font of wisdom. Why? Because she has opened up the fountain of her vagina. The lube is coming, the squirting is coming, and the creativity is coming. Well-fucked all-stars. Hello, Rachel. Welcome.
Hi, Kim. Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So I'd love to hear about the shifts that you've been having. Why don't we start with talking about your sex life with your partner and what was that looking like and how did that evolve?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of interesting when I think about our relationship. I love to start at when we first met and got together and got married. Like, I would say the first couple of years, like, it was fantastic. We've always had fantastic chemistry. There's a lot of polarity and a lot of good sexual tension in our relationship, although we're very, very different from one another. But I think that was part of what brought a lot of that. We weren't afraid of the differences. But as life got more difficult and children were added and stresses from, work and all of the things that happen as, your life goes on, like the communication faltered and our relationship, kind of died. We were in our separate corners. And it's interesting, both of us really, we always like bring up this point that before we found your work, we had been to 3 different marriage counselors, and we had just kind of decided that this is the best it's going to get, and it's not that great. We don't know where everything went. We
And
wish that we could.
they didn't either. They didn't know
No,
either.
no, it was just talking. And that's, I guess, one of the things that we've learned and that we love is that, like, it's not about the talking, it's about the sex, it's about the fucking. I mean, that's literally what makes the biggest difference. And any time we find ourselves drifting apart, and we do have, a very busy life with lots of different layers on it and a lot of different stressors. Like when we come back together and we have sex and and we are striving for that gourmet sex that you talk about, where it's not just like a quick, like, I'm halfway asleep and I grabbed your dick, and like it's just kind of like bam, 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 and it's done. But even if it's not that long, we are present and we're intentional with each other. We talk a lot about that. It changes everything. And that's, I think for us, realizing that like the real secret sauce wasn't sitting in an office with somebody talking more about our problems, thinking more about our problems, discussing why our problems are our problems, working on communication, so to speak. It was like, get back together to where this all started. And that was with that physical attraction. And it's amazing how the conversation and the communication and the working on the problems flow from what we create from our sexual experiences. Like that is like totally the engine for our relationship. And it's just grown from there. Like there's no question about it. But the sexual relationship has been the transformative power for our marriage. And people can see it, people know it, like we feel it, and we know immediately when we're off. We know immediately. So.
So I love that. So how did you get into how would you say that you got back on track then? If you went to these other people and you said that they just wanted to talk in the office, but some of your unlocking was through communication. So what was different between what they were suggesting and then what you guys were able to apply through this work of openness and honesty? What was the difference that shifted and clicked for you guys that made it work?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. I have to give a plug for the sex. I feel like it always starts and ends with the sex. But once that was kind of established, instead of like discussing our problems, when you talked about clearing the glass, like people might think that's the same thing as discussing your problems, but I don't think it is. I think our clearing the glass sessions are sitting down and being like really open and honest with one another, but for the purpose of coming to a reconciliation or an understanding with one another. And it's not about the problems anymore, which is what I felt like a lot of our therapy was about. It was about like, well, you hurt me in this way and you don't understand where I'm coming from, or, and it's not that we don't discuss our difficulties when we are clearing the glass, but it's like this, we both come together and it's like, we want this pain between us clean. Like, I'm going to share with you what I feel like is on it, that is my issue. I'm also going to bring up to you, like, I feel like I'm seeing this from you, and then vice versa. And then it's like, okay, we've got this out. Now let's go fuck it out and everything will be okay. Like, and it sounds kind of simple, but there are times, and I've heard you say this with other people before, and until I experienced it, I didn't believe it. But there are complete, like, full issues that we don't even have to discuss if we are having good sex with one another, because I don't know, we communicate to one another on a level that is not verbal. And it's not to say that we don't discuss issues. Like, there's lots of serious things that we do have to sit down and have those really serious conversations about. But there's a lot of things that I think we could go down this rabbit hole of complaining, or, like just, blaming each other. And instead, it's just like the alchemy of our experience together physically, and, with his penis in my vagina, or us playing with one another, or, just having those orgasms that are like amazing. And it's just like we finish and it's like were you mad? Was I mad? I'm not mad. You're not mad. Like, okay, well, great. It's just like, it's like, it's poop. It's gone. And I would never have believed it if I hadn't experienced that experience for myself, right? Like it's happened multiple times. Like I know that if there's things that we just can't necessarily come to terms with, or maybe I'm just feeling bitchy, like about something, that like we have great sex and it's like, oh, that doesn't even bother me anymore. So,
I love that. And I've heard other people share that as well, that if they're having enough sex and good sex, cleansing, restorative, rejuvenating sex, it washes things away. And the
yeah.
issues don't build up even. So you manage to address a backlog of issues and
Hmm.
also current issues and prevent future issues. And then you
Yeah.
start to see that so much of and then couples who get in that groove and they're having regular great sex, they talk about how, okay, so maybe they're normally having sex every day on average, right?
Hmm.
Maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And then they go a few days, 2 or 3 days, and they start getting a little bristly with each other. And they're like,
Hmm.
oh, hang on, we haven't had sex in 2 days. Okay, get to the bedroom and then problem
Uh-huh.
solved.
No, absolutely. And it's so great. Like, I can't tell you for how many years I would wake up and just feel like this, like my marriage was a drain and it was like this weight on my shoulders. And, we go to counseling or we try to work things out. And I just felt like it's just a spiral, like we're going nowhere. And now, like, I wake up in the morning and I really am like, hooray, we get to like live today. We get to work through things together. And tonight we got, a special treat coming up, in bed. So I totally know what you mean when it's like a couple of days and that red flag. It's like your whole body can sense I'm not connected with, I'm not connected with my partner and I need that connection. And it really is everything. It for our marriage and our relationship, like it is absolutely vital. And I remember we were laughing the other day because it's been particularly stressful lately, and we'd only had sex like I think twice that week. And he said something about like, we've only been having sex twice a week, and I kind of giggled and I was like, for most people, that's like really good odds. But for us, it's like only twice? What in the world? Like, where's our heads? Where are our heads? We're definitely not in bed. We're definitely not focused on what we know like nourishes our relationship and our and each other. So yeah.
Tell me your journey with Lube and how that plays into all this for you.
So I feel like, I mean, when I started having sex, like that was part of it, like here's some lingerie, like this is what an orgasm is, although all anybody talked about was a clitoral orgasm,
If
right?
they even named it, normally they just say an
Right.
orgasm for women. And for years, I'd be saying, well, which one are you talking about? And then just had to assume that they were all talking about clitoral orgasms and, then had to start educating people. No, there's different kinds.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If they even knew like, if this will feel good, okay, what does that mean? And then it was just like they'd hand over and this is going to be your best friend, this is the loop. I do have to say, when I look back on it, I've always been someone who is naturally pretty like lubricated. I remember like even before I got married, because I had sex after I got married. But even before, like I would masturbate or get really turned on, and I was always like quite wet. And so I remember after a while thinking, why am I even using lube, right? If I'm like, getting revved up here, why on my own, why do I even have to use it? Now, when we struggled in our relationship, I looking back on it, and I didn't put it together at that point in time, but yes, I did end up using it more and more. But I realize now it's because we didn't have the emotional and spiritual connection. And that's what would get me wet. In fact, there's I'm trying to remember. There's something that you had said. Um, oh, I remember. I actually wrote it down when you were talking about like the technique of the G spot, like, the come hither with the fingers. You said, if the technique is correct, why isn't every woman having these orgasms, right? And so it was like, I just kind of felt like, okay, I if I'm not connected to my, if I'm not connected to my partner emotionally and spiritually, like I will dry up. It's not just a physical thing, right? It's not just oh, if he rubs your nipples here and if he, you know, dances around your inner thigh here, you're going to get wet. It's so much more than that. If that's all it took, every woman would gush, right? But they don't. And so when but I didn't realize any of this until like I first took vaginal kung fu a couple of years ago. And that's when it was just like, that's the secret sauce. It's the relationship, it's the connectedness, it's the honesty with one another, and then if that is there, then he can rub my nipples, then he can like rub my inner thigh, then he can like blow on my toes, and I'm like, you know and so I mean, as far as like, if we're giving each other massages, yoni massage, linga massage, like, yeah, we've got oil there. But other than that, like, I just, I don't even want to use it. Like, it's kind of like eating organically. Like, it's like sexing organically. It's like, I just want us and our bodies there. I don't want anything else there as a part of it. And it really is, if you can connect emotionally and spiritually, and then physically, I think for me anyway, that's how my body responded.
So when you would have some kind of breakthrough in your sharing or you feel some distance and then you unite through really honest communication, so you build up that emotional intimacy, vulnerability, you would notice, okay, the floodgates open. I'm all
Hmm.
good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, definitely.
And so let's say that because you've said that in your process, if you guys could start having sex and that would help like process some of the emotional problems that you might be going through or issues or whatever blockages. But what if a couple can't get there? Like they're not, some people come in and they're really estranged already. And so
Hmm.
they're not ready to have sex. So the only thing they can do to get there is clearing a bunch of these blockages that are there between them. So
Hmm.
have you had that, like when you guys sat down to have your initial conversations, you were already in a place where you felt like you could be sexual, right?
Um, I mean, yeah. Um, we had definitely worked on our relationship. Um, but I definitely think that, I guess, and if what you're asking is like, do people feel like they need to be doing that emotional work before they feel like they can jump into the physical intimacy? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, is it possible to have sex when you're angry? Yeah. I mean, and have we done that before? For sure. Um, but I feel like, well, I don't know. What keeps coming to my mind here is that for me personally, in my journey of I guess opening up to him and being completely emotionally open and available, I had to learn how to surrender. And that's a section of the well fucked woman that like really hit me the hardest because I didn't realize all the different ways in which I sabotaged the relationship by not surrendering in all these different little ways. Like, I didn't like the way that he talked to one of the kids, or I didn't like that he criticized, I felt like he was criticizing the way I was doing things, or I mean, you name it. And I would get really upset um, about it, but then I would internalize I would internalize that and I wouldn't talk to him about it. And so the combination of actually having to be honest enough with him to tell him what I was actually feeling if I was pissed off, instead of just internalizing it and then getting really angry. And then having to decide that I was going to let him be the yang, that I was going to be the yin, that I was going to surrender. And it started to become a game. Like in every way that I could, I tried to figure out, well, how can I surrender in this scenario? How can I surrender in this situation? And I know one of them that I talked about was like, we've gotten to the point where I fully allow him to like order my meals whenever we go out. And we've been out with friends before and they're like, what the heck? Because it does seem a little like patriarchal to be like, just sit there. And he's like, she'll be having this. But the point that I've brought up to my friends is that like, he knows what I like. He knows what, and perhaps before we go out, he'll be asking me like, what are you feeling like tonight? But it's his thought and his care, and then giving him that masculine opportunity to just say, my woman is going to have this, and then I'm like, ding, he's so right. you know, that even brings us closer together. And it's this fun, it makes it fun. We have so much fun with this. But another example that was actually a lot bigger, we had a certain situation come up and it was a big decision that we had to make. And he wanted one particular thing and I was super uncomfortable with it. And we talked about it for a couple of months. And I just remember sitting at a stoplight one day and it was like, this is where you have to learn how to surrender. You're okay surrendering with your meals. You're okay with surrendering, in other ways, but this is a big surrender. Are you willing to do that? And I remember getting really emotional and calling him up and just saying like, the situation? And he was like, yeah, we'd had a lot of glass clearing over this. And I just said, I'm in, like, you take care of it. I trust you. I will go, I will follow you. I will do this thing. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And it took him a couple more times to like really believe that I was being honest. But, I think we had been honest enough with one another over the last, 8 or 9 months that when I said that, I was like, no, I mean it. I'm surrendering. And it's not a fine, I'm just going to let you do, because that's a totally different vibe. It was this like, I love you. I know how much this means to you. And I trust you because you've been so consistent with me that even though I'm scared, and I know I'm scared, I totally trust you and I'm in. And I don't know if I talked about like his cock getting bigger, just like his chest puffing out, but that was another one of those,
yeah, so what
experiences.
happens when you give that kind of trust to your man? And I say that that really is the biggest thing that unlocks a man is when a woman surrenders and she genuinely trusts him. So then tell us, explain in great detail, what changes do you see that happen in your man when that takes place?
Um, he is the biggest that he can ever be.
Big
I'll be
where? Where
honest.
is he big?
Where? In the cock, like
Right.
right down there. I kind of like in my mind, I'm like, are you gonna burst out of your skin? Like, and he hasn't. But there's it's just he's so proud and he feels so loved, and I'm so happy when I can feel the difference. Like when I'm like holding his cock or I'm having sex with him, like I can I can feel that. I know it's like I know that I have like helped him reach like the greatest heights that he can with his cock, you know? And then, you know, you give it a couple like strokes and like go for it and it gets even bigger. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's super, it's fun. Like that's the thing is that even though like these are serious, these serious are serious things, it's also, it makes it so much, it makes it so much fun, you know? And it's super enjoyable. But yes, he gets bigger than he is in a normal situation, um and I love it and he loves it, and it's just it's so cool. Like I don't know what else to say. It's just, and it feels
The power is
fantastic.
in your hands.
The pet, it really is. Yes. So it makes me want to do it even
So,
more and more, you know, it makes me want to
right.
surrender more. It makes me want to try to do things more to literally like please him. And I don't feel like I've lost any power at all. In fact, I feel more powerful than ever. And, you know, it's kind of a mind bend. I don't know how that works, but it really is just like it's the hand in the glove feeling. It's like we match, you know? I don't know.
That's beautiful. And I think that's completely accurate and reflective of the process, this really deep cultivation of trust and surrender with each other. So you mentioned, you know, the most important part about the cock growth, but what else happens with him? Like, you mentioned this kind of expansion in the chest. Like, how is he more occupying his masculine energy than after you've really occupied your feminine energy, right? You've given this even deeper level of surrender. There's this
Mhm.
pendulum yin yang swing. And what else does that look like in him after?
Mhm. You know, it's just he is more confident, he is more self-assured. He has he's a I mean he's already a great father, but when he is occupying his masculinity, like it's a joy to watch him parent, um and he feels more successful at work, and he also is just like more, we're both more turned on all of the time. And it's like he could walk in and just walk by and just kind of come walk behind me and brush his hand over my butt, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know. And it's like, you know, like thoughts of things to come. And it's I don't know, you've given examples in some of your classes of like men who have felt emasculated, you know, in situations and in their relationships where they're just kind of like shriveling and shrinking and they're not growing. And when I have intentionally surrendered and tried to show him that I'm doing it because I care, like his, yeah, his chest grows, his confidence grows. He's just, I feel like he feels like he's even more of the man that he wants to be, you know, than he, more than he already is.
Yeah. And if you had to quantify that cock growth, how many inches would you say you get out of it?
I mean, I'd say a good like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's
that's
pretty awesome. You know, and it's
pretty
like
awesome.
literally emotion. I mean, it's like a mental thing, right? It's like he's feeling the love, he's realizing, you know, how much he's cherished, and it's like, and it just grows. It's like a plant.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So, how about you were talking, oh, okay, you getting to know your yoni. Tell me more about
Oh
that.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I actually I brought my mirror in. I just wanted to
beautiful.
yeah. So yoni gazing was totally transformative for me. And I mean, in full disclosure, like I have really large inner labia, like really large. And I always felt super awkward about it because nobody ever talks about that. Most people don't even know that there's like inner and outer. And what was considered my inner labia seemed like they're the outer labia because they're really large. And I remember like after having kids and stuff, and I, had seen my yoni, I was like, oh, it's just so ugly. And I can't believe now that I actually thought that about her, because I think she's absolutely gorgeous. But it literally was taking a mirror and sitting in front of it and staring at her. And, you've had like great like massage, the yoni reconnaissance, like visualizations and things like that that have kind of helped me when I wasn't sure, like, now what am I supposed to do here?
Right. Yeah.
But I've come to really, I adore her. And I do feel like she is kind of like this separate, sentient part of me that has her own voice and really has her like compass, inner compass. And like I trust her now. And I feel like she trusts me that I'm going to listen to her. Um, but I mean, I've even like, I mean, taken some pictures of her and just like, I don't know, just like staring at her and just being like, you're absolutely beautiful. And it was interesting to me to talk to friends about it, a few friends that I felt comfortable bringing it up to. And I mean, I think I told you this, like, I was like, have you looked at it before? And they were like, no, I don't even know what mine looks like. I couldn't even pick mine out of of a lineup, if it committed a crime. And I'm like, I feel like I now know every inch of her, and I know which side's a little longer, and I know like how she leads into the vaginal opening and her color and what it looks like when the clitoris grows, when it's like excited versus when it's not. And it's just it's actually really cool to feel like I know that part of myself and I have a relationship with that part of myself. And honestly, I think that nobody should be afraid to have a relationship with her, because she does more for us than just about any other part of our body. And it's like this, she's like the center of our joy, right? The center of like what brings us pleasure and joy and makes life super enjoyable. And so um yeah, I am so up on yoni gazing. Super big fan, 10 out of 10.
Self-knowledge for the win.
Yes, for sure. Self-knowledge, and just I just think it's cool that I know what she looks like. I could pick mine out of a lineup. You know?
Amazing. So how about your orgasmic journey? How did that go? And did you discover any new and exciting orgasms?
Oh my heavens. I mean, which one isn't exciting or, you know? Um, so I will say I always okay, so I never really had a problem orgasming. So I feel like I kind of came to the table like I knew how to, but that was a clitoral orgasm, right? I knew how to clitoral orgasm, and it was always very, very enjoyable. Um, but I remember hearing about like G-spot orgasms and thinking, okay, that's something that I want to work on. Um, but then it really was in your work where I was like introduced to the cervical orgasm and even the anal orgasm and nipple orgasms. And um, that's really where things totally changed for me. Um, in fact, I mean, just a couple of different things. Like the first time I like knew that I was having a cervical orgasm, like, I mean, it lasted like 20 minutes. And then after that, it was like just kept going and going and going like throughout the rest of the day. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, when can I have another one of those? And like, I mean, it just like, and it was the same thing once I finally learned how to squirt through the G spot, which took me, that was the last thing that I actually could do, I guess. That took me a while, and I realized, and my husband did too, that that the squirting was really all about the final frontier of surrender, you know? And that was like, he would have to use the finger stimulation. I couldn't do it to myself. So I had to trust him, and he had to like, get pretty, like rough with it. And he would be like, "Are you going to be okay?" And I'm like, "I keep going." you know? And then when it finally started coming, like there's a something happens, like I don't know, like hormonally, or when you squirt, and it just was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And I find myself wanting those. My body craves those, and how I feel afterwards is I feel light. I feel so loving. I feel like the best version of myself. Like, again, it sounds like too good to be true, but and it doesn't come easily. Like there's a price you have to pay to get to these places, right? Like you say, you have to do the work, you have to go to bed, but like it's just life changing. And then I had to say, like, the at first, like I was like, anal orgasms, are we really like, are we really going there? But as we kind of, I don't know, talked around it, discussed it, and then started trying it out, and it's just, it's one of my favorite things. And I mean, I don't know, all of them, I think, bring these, how do you put it, these undiscovered parts of who you are, and integrate them back into your whole body, into who you are. And because there's definitely things that I understand about myself and things that I've experienced from anal orgasms and cervical orgasms and G-spot squirting orgasms that I didn't know about myself before this. And then the best is when you combine them all together, and it's just like, I don't know. And he enjoys being a part of that experience just as much. Like, there are times when I'm like, "Are you good?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. Like, thank you for the show." But um I don't know. It's hard to even just explain how it changes you on just a real fundamental level. If you're willing to if you're willing to get past like how you might have been taught about sex or what you think about it, being afraid to talk about it, being afraid to share with other people about it, being bold enough to be honest about it, like you get there and it really does change you, and it will change your relationship with yourself, and it changes your relationship with your partner if you're in a marriage or a partner relationship, like um but yeah, all those different orgasms, it's like it's not even a good, better, best, it's just like they're all fantastic in their own way. And it's just, I don't know what else to say about it. They're just fantastic.
So I love how you articulated this. When you talk about different parts of yourself coming up, coming through, becoming, is there anything
hmm
specific you can think of, like an encounter that you had and a behavior that changed afterward, or a part of you that seemed different?
hmm Yes. I would say, well, the first one is, I think the real linchpin for me with learning how to surrender in life, specifically with my husband, but just in life, was through learning how to squirt through the G spot. And I have really struggled with being afraid of a lot of things in my life, saying no to a lot of things to protect myself, but protect myself, thinking that there was something to be afraid of. But learning how to just completely open up and surrender, I feel like now I say yes to more things in my life, and more things appear in my life that I want. And I attribute that directly to learning how how to have those orgasms and how to squirt and what for me it meant. I know some people don't have a problem, with learning how to squirt. It comes very naturally, but that didn't for me. And that really was kind of the final frontier for us. And when I finally learned how to let go, like it was actually kind of scary at first, but once I had that experience and felt what that was like, it was like, that's what I want in bed and in life. And anytime I can do that, I want to do it. And then that feeling follows me in life. And it's not that I live this like perfect life of, you know, all the things that I want happen all the time, or I'm not afraid, anymore of anything, but I can always go back to that feeling and help kind of realign myself and say, like, you remember, you're a fuck yes girl. Like, you say yes to things. Like, and even if you're scared, you do it, you know? And that's okay. And if you fail, that's okay, because you can always go back to bed. You can do that again, and then go back out and try it again. So I think that is one specific example. The other one I feel like is anal orgasms. That one, I don't know, that just kind of broke me wide open. Um, and I know you talk about being like the pain in the ass and like being really, like they've got a stick up their ass. And um, I think that learning what anal orgasms do, when I'm angry, there is nothing like having an anal orgasm. That will dissipate my anger faster than anything. And a lot of times when I'm angry in my relationship, or I'm angry at my kids, or angry at just anything, that will dissipate anger faster than anything. And suddenly I feel soft and loving, and I like everybody's the best person in the world, you know? So I feel like there's very specific things that those different orgasms do, and I could talk about, cervical orgasms too, but those two really stand out to me, that like those changed me. I can do something now that I couldn't do before because of those experiences with those orgasms.
That's amazing.
It is, right?
Yeah. Tell me about your relationship with your nipples.
Oh, I love them. Okay, I can have nipple orgasms. Um, but my relationship with them really developed through having regular daily breast massage, which is something that have taught, and that that's something that I rarely miss. And I feel like the more I like spent time with my nipples and got to know my nipples, they kind of became like my BS-o-meters. Like like I feel like they guide me in a good direction. I don't even know how to really describe it, but they're kind of like these little antenna of like you're going in the right direction in your life, or maybe you shouldn't really trust this person that much, or you know like that person isn't that good for you. And it's like the nipples are like, stay away, stay
How do
away.
they communicate with you?
I can feel it, which also, like, I have to learn. Like, I still wear, I wear bras sometimes, I don't wear bras sometimes. Like, it kind of depends on the scenario and the situation. But I try to, as often as I can, not wear a bra, because it's just this, I get a little tingly in my nipples. I don't know how to describe it. I sound like I'm crazy. I sound like
No,
I'm
I've
crazy.
had the same, I've shared about this too, but you only really can tune into it with a minimum of fabric on the nipples. So
Right.
not wearing a bra or anything tight or compressing. And then just feeling like your breasts, your nipples, your areola are free to breathe and be,
Yes.
and that they really do act as a kind of antenna, which when they're bound up in a bra, and then if you're putting wire in there, it's like an
Yeah.
electrical interference field and it distorts that signal even more. So carry on, because I'm
Oh,
validating that that's totally true.
yeah. Well, and I also, the bras that I do have now do not have any wires in them. So if I do have to wear one, it's definitely a non-wire bra. But I don't know. They're just kind of like I said, they're like little truth tellers, and they just kind of guide me in the decisions that I need to make, and it's not like, it's not like they're saying like, hello, this is your left nipple. I don't think you should trust that person over there. I mean, but it's just like, it's the feeling that I get. And then in my mind, I kind of work through kind of the feeling that I've got from them, but it's just another sensory, like, it's another way to send in a sensory way, get information about like my life and the things that are happening in my life. And I've done it enough now that I feel like I actually, it a thing, and I can trust those feelings that I get from the breasts. Like, they're amazing.
Love it. Is there anything else that you want to touch on that these skills that you picked up through this work and connecting to these parts of yourself? Anything significant that you still want to share?
um, I'm just trying to think. Well, I will say like some of the like physical outward things that I noticed was, um, I mean, through doing this work, like I lost 40 pounds, and it's over like, I think about 2.5 to 3 years. But like I feel like my body responded in a way that just like, diet and exercise wouldn't have that same effect. I feel like the body was just like, we're shedding all of the yucky, the difficult, the the anger, feeling, you know, left out or lonely or just all those negative things. And it's the weight has just kind of consistently come off to the point where I feel like physically in the best, um I'm in the best like shape that I've ever been in my life. And it's amazing what orgasms will do for, you know, your core and like your whole body. Like, I don't know. It's really amazing. And yes, I did exercise. And yes, I do try to eat healthy. Like, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but that was kind of like, again, it was like that kind of like silver bullet that just made like put it over the edge, made all the difference. So the other thing that I was uh thinking is that the MMC, the meditate, masturbate, and create, is like I've seen that over and over again, like make a huge difference in um like the things that I pursue in my life. Things that I never would have even thought were a thing. Like suddenly after I'm, meditating, masturbating, and creating, and suddenly it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this college like class, this extension class to become a master gardener, and I'd never even thought of that before, and now it's like one of the things that I do. It's part of, and that came directly from that process of meditating, masturbating, and then creating. And I've had answers to difficulties with things with my kids through that process. And um, it's a really helpful tool to like just kind of refocus and reground myself in life. And so it's really vital. It's become a really regular part of my daily routine. It's helped a lot.
So, as a coupled person, do you still do meditate, masturbate, create as a solo endeavor, or are you practicing that tandem with your partner? Like meditate, make love, create, or both?
Yeah. I do more solo by myself.
Hmm.
We have occasionally done, I guess it would be kind of the meditate, make love, create. Um, but I think what usually happens is that we will do MMCs ourselves and then we'll talk about it. We do talk about like our personal sexual experiences with one another a lot. We've gotten to the point where we really do share everything. So that is something that like um even though yeah, I'm in a relationship, that's kind of like my personal tool that I like to use.
So, how important is that then? It sounds like your yoni gazing practice, your MMC, meditate, masturbate, create practice, these are things that you're still maintaining as solo self-exploration, get to know thyself, even in the midst of a sexual partnership that you're having sex, right? So it sounds like that journey of self-reconnaissance has been and continues to be an important piece of the collective as well.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely, because I don't feel like I can show up to my partnership in the same way when I haven't done my own work. I mean, that's, I think, what it comes down to is I remember another thing that you said. I have a couple of things that I've written down that I think about all the time. Is what makes a woman irresistible? Self-love. And I feel like so many women don't love themselves. So many women don't appreciate the beauty of like their bodies and their personalities and their gifts and their talents. And it's just like MMC and all of those things, the yoni gazing or the breast massage is just a way that I like, it's an opportunity to honor myself and who I am and who I have become through this and who I'm still hoping to become on a regular basis. Like I'd love to say, yes, I do them all every day without fail. And that's not the case. Like, but at least a couple of times a week, I am trying to do each one of those things at different times. And and I feel like it helps me to become a better me so that I can turn around and be a better member of my partnership. Um, and the same with, my husband. Like, he realizes he has to do the same thing. And we weren't always doing that, but especially through clearing the glass and talking about these things, like he's also recognized, like, yes, this is something that I need to do, as well. So I think you have to do your own personal work. You have to develop your own self love in order to really be able to love unconditionally that person that you're married to or in a partnership with. So, and that is what helps me do that.
Amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, the last thing is that another thing that you've mentioned is how the universe rewards courage. And that really has helped me like become the fuck yes, because when you say no, nothing changes. But when you say yes and you're courageous, even when you're scared or you're not sure how it's going to turn out, like something will shift in the universe and things start opening up, including your vagina. So it's, um, no, this, both my partner and both my husband and I agree that this these classes and your work has helped our marriage more than anything else that we can, you know, that we can name. And so we're just super grateful for what we've learned and how it continues to grow and develop in our relationship and how it shapes us every day. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing all of this. And it's amazing. You have such a glow. You really do have that well fucked glow. It just radiates out of you.
well, thank you. It's a great glow. I love it.
The best beauty treatment ever. The best 7-step skincare routine. Yeah, beauty hack. What's the newest injectable? The newest injectable is cock, and you should
I know
really
it's
be
like
getting a lot of it, girl.
it's a penis. It really is. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. That is the very best thing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's time to get your well fucked woman on. My legendary well fucked woman salon is open for registration now. In this 10-week online and in your bed immersion, I have compiled the best of my 30 years of orgasmic experience to take you over the edge into a lifetime of bliss. You will learn step-by-step instructions for the deeper vaginal orgasms, including G-spot, cervical, and squirting, how to transform challenging menstruation, PMS, and menopause into blissful portals, self-pleasuring 101, and how to channel sexual energy into creative genius, natural lubrication from within, tapping into your feminine essence and flow to build a life of ease and pleasure, quantum communication techniques to clear space with your partner, breast massage to tone, lift, enlarge, and activate the orgasmic potential of your breasts, and how to give your man enlightened blowjobs and handjobs. Come and get it. Go to kimanami.com/wet. Registration is open for the next week, and after that, it is gone until 2026. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and send somebody else the gift of a multi-orgasmic and transformational love life by sharing this episode with them. If you'd like to go deeper into all things orgasms, sign up for my free Orgasmopedia series, where you'll learn about 9 different types of orgasms everyone can have. Go to kimanami.com and you'll see the sign up there. Come one, come all.